In a small, peaceful village, there lived a crippled woman named Malo. Malo was kind and loved by everyone, but life wasn't always easy for her. She wasn't born the way she was now. Long ago, she was just like every other young bride, full of dreams and hopes for her wedding day. But something terrible happened. On the very day she was going to her husband's house, the cart carrying her had an accident, and Malo lost both of her legs. After that day, everyone in the village called her Malo, the one in the wheelchair. But despite losing her legs, Malo never lost her kindness. She was still that sweet, gentle woman. Life didn't stop for her. Not long after her wedding, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Monica. Monica had her mother's beauty, but not her kindness. Monica grew up different. She had a sharp tongue, and she was rude to everyone. No one in the village could match her when it came to insults. Even babies weren't safe from her words. Malo, being a caring mother, would always try to teach Monica. She would say, "My daughter, your tongue is like a fire. It can burn everything if you don't control it." But Monica never listened. And so, in the village, people saw the difference between Malo and Monica. One was gentle like the soft wind, and the other sharp like a thorn. But Malo never gave up on her daughter. Every day, she tried to guide her, hoping that one day Monica would change. But that day never came. Yet, Monica was known everywhere in the village, not for her beauty, but for her sharp mouth. She had a tongue that could cut deeper than a knife. It didn't matter who you were, young or old, strong or weak. Monica's mouth didn't spare anyone. She could insult you in a way that would make you feel like the ground should open and swallow you. If a child cried, Monica would say, "Even your cry is as ugly as your face." If an elder spoke, she would snap, "Old man, your words are as slow as your legs." And if anyone dared to correct her, she would lash out even more. Her tongue was like a snake, always ready to strike. Malo, her mother, would warn her every day, "Monica, be careful. Words are like arrows. Once they leave your mouth, you cannot take them back." But Monica never cared. She would roll her eyes and walk away, as if her mother's words were just the wind blowing past her. Monica's sharp tongue became feared in the village. People began to avoid her because no one wanted to be on the receiving end of her insults. Even the elders, who were respected by all, could not escape her sharp words. Malo tried and tried to teach her daughter to be kind, but Monica had no respect for anyone. Her mouth was like a raging fire, burning everyone who crossed her path. And so Monica's reputation grew. She became known as the girl with the sharpest tongue in the village, and everyone feared her words more than anything else. One fateful day, something terrible happened in Malo's home. After fetching water and sweeping the compound, Monica went into the kitchen to prepare a meal for her family. As usual, she cooked in a rush, not paying attention to what she was doing. When the meal was ready, she served it to her parents. But as soon as her mother, Malo, tasted the food, she spat it out. It was too salty. "Monica, my daughter," Malo said softly, "this food has too much salt. You need to be careful when you cook, or how will you ever find a good husband if you can't make a proper meal?" Malo's words were gentle, but Monica didn't take it well. Her anger flared up like a wildfire. She stood up, eyes burning with rage, and said, "If cooking is so easy, why don't you get up from that wheelchair and do it yourself?" "Oh wait, you can't, because you're nothing but a useless cripple. No legs, no sense." Malo's heart broke into pieces at those words. She couldn't believe what her own daughter had said to her. Tears flowed down her cheeks as she stared at Monica, but Monica didn't care. She crossed her arms, her face full of anger and pride. Malo's husband, who was sitting nearby, said nothing. He had grown cold toward Malo ever since the accident. In his heart, he no longer loved her because she was crippled. He didn't defend her. He just sat there in silence, allowing Monica to say whatever she wanted. Malo cried quietly, hurt by her daughter's cruel words, but Monica walked away, her sharp tongue leaving deep wounds. Word of Monica's disrespect to her mother spread quickly through the village. Everyone was shocked that a daughter could speak such harsh words to her own mother, especially a kind woman like Malo. The village elders, who were wise and respected, decided it was time to discipline Monica. They sent a message to her, asking her to come to the village square. But Monica, as stubborn as ever, refused. "Who are they to call me? I have nothing to say to a bunch of old men," she muttered to herself. She didn't care about the elders, just like she didn't care about anyone else. When the elders heard that Monica had ignored their invitation, they became angry. They felt disrespected and decided to take action. "If she will not come on her own, we will send strong men to bring her," one of the elders said. And so they sent 2 strong men to fetch Monica and bring her to the village square. When the men arrived at Monica's home, she was fuming. "You dare to drag me to the elders?" she shouted. But she had no choice. They took her to the square, where all the elders were waiting. Instead of humbling herself in front of the elders, Monica's anger flared even more. Her face was hard and her sharp tongue was ready for battle. The elders, seeing her defiance, began to warn her about the dangers of disrespecting her mother and the consequences of her sharp tongue. But Monica wasn't listening. "You, with your big eyes," she suddenly shouted at one elder. "You think you can scare me? You look like a frog with those eyes." The crowd gasped, but Monica wasn't finished. She turned to another elder, one known to be a calm and gentle man. "And you, aren't you just a slave to your wife? I heard she controls everything you do." The elders were shocked, but Monica didn't stop. She even looked at one elder and said, "Your wife told me you don't last long in bed. She's always complaining you're a 30 seconds man." One by one, Monica insulted every elder, leaving them embarrassed in front of the crowd. The village was silent, too afraid to speak. The elders were humiliated, their faces red with shame, but they couldn't do anything. Satisfied with the damage she had done, Monica smiled, lifted her head proudly, and walked away from the square, leaving the elders behind in shame. But little did she know that this, her action, would soon lead her to something terrible that even her sharp mouth can't explain. The very next day, Monica went to the stream to fetch water. As usual, her head was held high, and her sharp tongue was ready for anyone who dared cross her path. When she reached the stream, she saw an old woman washing her clothes. The woman, tired and slow, didn't notice Monica coming. As she rinsed her clothes, she accidentally splashed some water onto Monica. Monica, already full of pride, was furious. "What is wrong with you, old woman?" she shouted, glaring at her. "Are you blind? Or is it because you're too old to see what's in front of you?" The old woman quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, my child. I didn't see you." But before the woman could finish her sentence, Monica's sharp tongue lashed out again. "Sorry? Is that all you can say? You're just an old witch. No wonder you've lost all your 6 children. You probably killed them with your bad luck." The old woman's eyes filled with sadness, but she said nothing. Monica continued her insults, not caring that she was speaking to someone much older than her. "Everyone knows you have no children left because you sacrificed them at your witch meetings. Maybe you should sacrifice yourself next." The old woman's face filled with sadness, but she said nothing. She just lowered her head and continued with her washing. Monica wasn't finished. "You're probably here because no one wants you around. You, a lonely old woman with no family, no hope. Why don't you just leave this world? There's no one left to care about you anyway." The people at the stream heard every word, but stayed quiet. They were afraid of Monica's sharp tongue. No one wanted to be the next victim of her insults. The old woman's silence was heavy, full of pain, but she didn't respond. She simply packed her things and slowly left the stream. Monica smirked, thinking she had won again, not knowing that the old woman's silence held more power than words ever could. The next morning, trouble started for Monica. She woke up feeling something strange in her mouth. She tried to speak, but her tongue felt heavy and swollen. What is happening? She wondered, touching her tongue and feeling it was much bigger than usual. At first, Monica didn't think it was serious. Maybe it's just a small fever, she thought to herself. She went about her day, but as the hours passed, her tongue began to grow even longer. By midday, it was poking out of her mouth, and by the time the sun began to set, her tongue had grown so large that she couldn't close her mouth anymore. Monica started to panic. She could no longer speak properly, and her face was swollen from the weight of her tongue. Her mother, Malo, noticed something was terribly wrong. "Monica, what's happening?" Malo asked, worried. Monica tried to respond, but her words were mumbled and unclear. Malo's heart sank. She wheeled herself out of the house and rushed to the neighbors for help. But when she knocked on their doors, they refused to open. "Why should we help that girl?" one neighbor said from behind a closed door. "Her mouth has been full of insults for years. Let her deal with it on her own." Another neighbor added, "She never showed us kindness. Why should we help her now?" Malo, full of tears, begged for someone to help her daughter, but no one would come. Monica was left alone, her tongue growing longer by the minute, and her body growing weaker as the day went on. By nightfall, Monica could barely move, and her tongue hung out of her mouth like a heavy weight. She could no longer speak, and the once sharp-tongued girl was now silent, her words trapped behind the growing curse. Malo, heartbroken and desperate, didn't know what to do. Her kind warnings to Monica echoed in her mind, but now it was too late. Malo, filled with worry for her daughter, couldn't sit still. She wheeled herself through the village, knocking on every door, pleading for help. "Please, can someone tell me what happened? Why is my daughter like this?" she asked. But many villagers shook their heads and turned away. Finally, a kind-hearted woman came forward and whispered, "I heard what Monica did at the stream yesterday. She insulted the old woman who lost all her children. It was terrible." Monica said the old woman used her own children for witchcraft. Malo's heart sank. She knew that Monica's sharp tongue had gone too far this time. Without wasting any time, she turned her wheelchair and the following morning wheeled herself towards the forest. She knew she had to find the old woman and beg for forgiveness, hoping it wasn't too late to save her daughter. The journey to the forest was difficult for Malo. The path was rough, and her arms ached from pushing her wheelchair, but she didn't stop. She knew she had to reach the old woman. Malo, tired and full of sorrow, reached the old woman in the forest. The old woman sat quietly, her face calm but full of wisdom. Malo's hands trembled as she wiped the tears from her eyes, her voice shaky as she spoke. "Please, I beg you, forgive my daughter. She didn't know what she was saying. Her tongue has brought her this suffering, and now she can barely speak. I fear she may not survive." The old woman looked deeply into Malo's eyes. "Your daughter's tongue has hurt many," she said softly, "but I remember your kindness. Long ago, when I was pregnant and struggling, you helped me without asking for anything in return. I have never forgotten that." Malo bowed her head in gratitude, her heart pounding with hope. "Please, if you can forgive her, I will never forget your kindness again." The old woman paused for a moment and then said, "Because of what you did for me, I will forgive Monica. But there is one condition. You must promise never to tell anyone that I was the one behind this curse. No one must know that I am the reason for her suffering." Malo nodded quickly. "I promise. I won't tell anyone." The old woman sighed and handed Malo a small piece of soap wrapped in cloth. "Take this," she said, "and bathe Monica with it. After a few hours, the curse will lift, but Monica must learn from this experience. If she doesn't, the next lesson will be harsher. Malo took the soap, her heart filled with relief. Thank you, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. As Malo turned to leave, the old woman's eyes followed her. Remember, kindness can heal, but words can destroy, she said, her voice like the wind, carrying wisdom that Malo knew she would never forget. With the small bar of soap clutched tightly in her hands, Malo hurried home as fast as her wheelchair would take her. Her heart was pounding with both hope and fear. She kept thinking about her daughter, how her tongue had grown so long, and how weak Monica had become. When she finally reached home, she found Monica lying helpless. Her tongue, now so long it hung down past her chin. Malo wasted no time. She carefully unwrapped the soap the old woman had given her and prepared to bathe her daughter. As she did so, she remembered the old woman's words. The curse will lift after a few hours, but Monica must learn from this. Malo's hands trembled slightly, but she knew this was the only way to save her daughter. She gently bathed Monica with the soap, her heart filled with prayers that the curse would soon be lifted. After Malo finished bathing Monica, she sat beside her and waited. Slowly, as the hours passed, Monica's tongue began to shrink. The thick, long tongue that had once hung out of her mouth started to return to its normal size. Malo watched in relief as her daughter's face slowly returned to what it used to be. But the damage was already done. Monica's teeth had been destroyed by the weight of her tongue. When her tongue was back to normal, she tried to speak, but her voice sounded different. She had no teeth left, and her once beautiful smile was gone forever. Though her tongue was now normal, Monica had learned a hard lesson. She could no longer speak without remembering the pain she had caused and the shame she now felt because of her ruined mouth. Her sharp tongue had brought her this suffering, and now she had to live with the consequences. Monica was quiet, no longer the proud and rude girl she once was. She knew that her words had led to her downfall, and she would never forget the lesson her growing tongue had taught her. After the curse was lifted and Monica saw the damage done to her mouth, she realized the weight of her actions. The sharp tongue she had once used to hurt others had brought her nothing but pain. Now, humbled and ashamed, she knew she had to make things right. Monica went to her mother first. With tears in her eyes and her head bowed, she said, "Mother, I am sorry. I should never have spoken to you the way I did. You warned me, but I didn't listen." Malo, with love in her heart, forgave her daughter and held her close, knowing that this experience had changed Monica for the better. Next, Monica went to the village square where the elders gathered. She stood before them, feeling small and ashamed. "I am sorry for the terrible things I said to you," Monica said, her voice full of regret. "I was wrong to insult you, and I ask for your forgiveness." The elders, seeing her true remorse, forgave her, knowing that the lesson she had learned was greater than any punishment they could have given her. Monica didn't stop there. She made her way to the forest to find the old woman. When she saw her, Monica knelt down and wept. "I was cruel to you," she said, her voice trembling. "I am deeply sorry for the hurt I caused you." The old woman smiled softly, knowing that Monica had finally understood the power of her words. She forgave Monica, but reminded her, "Never forget, kindness and respect will carry you farther than a sharp tongue ever will." Word of Monica's transformation spread throughout the village. Her story became a lesson for all, especially the children. Parents would tell their children, "Do you remember Monica? Her sharp tongue almost destroyed her. Be kind with your words, for once they are spoken, they cannot be taken back." Monica's father, realizing how he had failed to correct his daughter's behavior and protect his wife, went to Malo. With a heavy heart, he said, "I should have done more. I should have stood by you and stopped Monica's bad behavior. Forgive me, Malo." Malo, with the same kindness she had always shown, forgave him. Together, they started to rebuild their life, stronger and more united. Peace returned to their home, and the story of Monica's growing tongue was told for many years as a reminder of the importance of speaking kindly and treating others with respect. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more enchanting tales just like this one. Thank you.